What's good, beautiful people? Welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time watching any of my videos, my name is Chrissy. Welcome. If you're returning, welcome back gang to another video. In today's video, we're going to do a step-by-step process of how to do like just a beginner makeup application. We're going to just focus on like mostly the base. First things first, I'm going to start with my eyebrow. I like to start off with a spoolie. I like to brush my eyebrows up. All right, so I'm going to go in with my eyebrow pencil. This pencil is from CoverGirl and it is in the shade Rich Brown. Even though your eyebrows look black to the natural eye, they actually are like a dark brownish shade unless you have clear, like you have a clear different shade of eyebrows, like red or blonde. Start in the middle of the brow and then fade out to the back. I don't want to fill it in and it be too heavy. And then I don't want to make it too light. So I like to just see where I have any like gaps or holes at, and then I just want to slowly pull my pencil through and fill it in. I'm just going to lightly fill in the front. Not much, just very lightly. I want to take my spoolie and just run through and put those hairs or brush that product through the hair, because it's going to kind of like blend in to the natural hair. Gives kind of like for a smoother brow versus when you first apply the product on the brow, it could give just like a rougher edge to the brow. Now we're going to go in and we're going to sculpt the brow out. Now for my concealer, I'm going to use the e.l.f. Camo Concealer. This is in the shade Deep Caramel. When you are concealing your brows, you do want to make sure that you use a concealer at the bottom of your brow, meaning the concealer that goes right here at the bottom. You want to make sure that that is 1 to 2 shades lighter than your skin tone. It's just going to add a little bit of emphasis to the brow. Just a regular concealer brush. You can use a smaller one. You don't have to use one that is this big. I'm going to start at the front of the brow, right beneath the brow. And you want to make sure that you take your time, glide that brush right underneath that brow. So now that we've sculpted out, now I want to raise the brow up like this, and I want to just gently pull that concealer down. Careful though, not to push the line up into the brow. I just need to pull that concealer down so that I can blend it in. I need to bring it down so that I can blend it in. I'm going to go in with my damp beauty blender. When it comes to your beauty tools that you are using, especially your beauty blender, you want to make sure that the beauty blender is damp, okay? Not wet, but damp. If your beauty blender is wet, you can tell. The only thing you have to do is squeeze the beauty blender. If you have water that drips out of the beauty blender, that means that it's too wet. And it's going to actually remove the makeup products off of your face, and then it's going to apply it back on as you're dabbing it, and it's going to give you a cakey effect. Now, that's not what we're doing. We're trying to blend in the makeup that is already there. Now, I like to use the point of my beauty blender. I think this is a good technique to help you out, is to blend the concealer around the crease. So kind of go like you're putting on eyeshadow around that eye area and just blend in that concealer. I'm going to sculpt out the top of my brows. The concealer that I'm going to use is going to be different than my first concealer. I'm going to use Born This Way Too Faced Concealer Too Faced concealer in the shade Chestnut. This concealer is the same exact tone as my skin. When you're applying concealer at the top of your brow, you want to make sure that it is the same color as your skin, because you won't be able to blend that concealer all the way down to your eyebrow, and you do not want to have like that little line coming up across the top of your brow that is light, because it is a little tacky to the look. Well, I'm not even gonna stunt. It's a lot of tacky to the makeup application. When you're at the bottom of the brow, you start at the beginning. Once you get to the top, you don't want to start at the beginning of the brow, because in my opinion, I feel like that gives you box brows. I like to kind of start about right here, right? A little bit off from the beginning so that we can give it a natural effect. Now I'm going to glide that all the way to the end. Once we get to the end, things are going to get a little interesting, because now we're going to connect the top to the bottom. We'll go ahead and drag that concealer up the same way we did at the bottom. At the top, it's a little bit easier because you don't have the eyelid here kind of in the way. We're only going to use one beauty blender in this application process, because I do not want to make things complicated for you guys. You can see here, the top of the brow looks really, really, really good. You can't even tell that we have concealer on at the top of the brow. And that is the reason why you want to use a concealer that is the same shade as your skin tone. So I'm going to go ahead and assume that if you are somebody that is interested in makeup, or you're somebody who has already begun to practice doing your own makeup or getting yourself a makeup routine, that you have a daily, consistent skincare routine. I'm gonna go ahead and link right here a really, really affordable skincare routine for you. You can go ahead and you can check it out. The primer is, to me, is the barrier between the skin and the makeup. So let's say that this is your face, right? The inside of my hand, your little bitty pores that are on your face. This primer right here, in my opinion, sits right on top of the pores, and it acts as a barrier to the pores to me. And then you have the makeup, which is this hand right here, and you put the makeup on top of the primer and not directly on the bare face. So you think of your pores as kind of like, just like a little cup, just like this right here. Well, when you put anything on your face, especially makeup applications, because we are mostly putting liquid applications on our face, the only thing that liquid does is just goes directly into the pore and deep down into the bottom of the pore. So that's why it's very important for you to have a skincare routine, because if you already struggle with any type of facial skin problems, that will be acne, that will be scars, that will be anything, discoloration, anything like that on your face, you having a skincare routine and having a primer and using them when you apply your makeup application is going to help you maintain the overall healthiness of your natural skin. Going to be the e.l.f. Power Grip Primer. I believe that this is a dupe primer to the Milk Hydrating Primer. That is the best primer that you can get on the market right now, okay? So we're gonna go ahead and apply this to the face. When I'm applying primer, especially this one, I just kind of like to go in the main areas of the face, on the forehead, and on the chin area. This step is completely optional. It depends on you and how you want your makeup. The high point of the cheek. The blush that I'm using is from e.l.f. It's their liquid blush. This is the Coral Crush. That's the shade. It's Coral Crush. I'm going to blend in that concealer on my face. I'm just going to really kind of just press it into the skin. And you can see how the primer added a little glow to the face. And then when I put on, sorry, I got a little primer just kind of like chilling right there. Let me blend that in. Now, when I add the blush to the face, it gives the face a really nice natural color. Next, I'm gonna go in with my first concealer. This concealer I'm gonna place underneath my eye, but it is not going to be a highlighting concealer. The first concealer that I like to use is a color correcting concealer. I like to take this, now this concealer is used to cover up the dark spots that are underneath my eyes. I struggle with hyperpigmentation and discoloration underneath my eyes. Just get rid of that with a concealer that is the same tone as my skin. For me, all I need is this right here, and it blurs out that discoloration and hyperpigmentation underneath my eyes, which ultimately solves my problem. Normally, I will go ahead and do the rest of my concealer application with my highlighting, but I'm going to go into foundation just for the purpose of this video. Maybelline Matte Poreless Foundation is in the shade 355 Coconut. Now, I'm not going to apply foundation all over my face. I'm going to just put this foundation kind of like right here at the bottom of the face, and then over the stash. And I'm just gonna blend that in. Now, the reason why I'm only putting foundation in these areas is because I'm doing a technique that's called underpainting. And it actually is a very good technique because it does not allow for you to put foundation in the parts of the face that basically just don't need foundation. And that foundation to make sure that it's flawless on the skin. Sometimes when we use the brush, it is a great application tool, but it can sometimes leave like little lines and streaks from the hairs on the brush. I'm going to go in with my second concealer, and I'm going to use this as my first highlighting concealer. This is the e.l.f. Caramel, this is the e.l.f. Camo concealer, and this is in Deep Caramel. This is the concealer that I used at the bottom of my eyebrow first. I'm going to place it underneath my eyes. I'm gonna place it on my chin, on my mustache area, on my nose, and on my forehead. I'm gonna take just a little bit and I'm gonna place it right underneath my contour area. And you can see it's just a small little line like that. And if you're needing to figure out where your contour area is, you can go right here from the high point of your face. Your cheek is right here. So your contour is going to be right at the high point of your face, coming right underneath that cheekbone is where your contour is. So you're gonna put that concealer right underneath that contour. I'm gonna start blending out this concealer from the bottom up. So I'm gonna start on chin area first. Normally I would use normally I would use 3 concealers during my highlighting process. But for this video, I'm only going to use just this one since this is a beginner friendly video. Now, when you're blending out the concealer underneath that contour, you want to hold your beauty blender sideways, and you just want to go left and right, back and forth until you blend that concealer in, just like that. Because we only want it in this particular area. We don't want the concealer to go up into the contour area because we still are going to contour the face. To be the last area that we blend out, because I want my under eye area to be as flawless as possible. So if you wait to do your under eye area last, then it will let that concealer dry down a bit. And if you allow for your concealer underneath your eyes to dry down, then you're gonna have a little bit more control because it's not gonna be so wet and so runny as it is when you first apply it to your face. All right, so now we're ready for the under eye. And even though it's not as dried down as I would like it to be, because you can see right here, it's still wet. See right here, it's still a little bit wet. So we could take like something like this and kind of like fan it a little bit to help it dry down, but I'm not about to do all it. So we'll take the beauty blender and we're gonna start at the bottom of the concealer and just kind of like go around that and blend it in before we move all the way up into the concealer. And you want to make sure that you're getting on the side of your nose right here as well. You don't want to have like nose spaces to where the concealer is not covering anything. Because when you're starting here at the bottom, you can just simply work your way up to the top, and you just have more control over the concealer. I feel like sometimes we just kind of rush in to the makeup application and we kind of start right here at the top and blending it out. But when you have to have a technique, because we pretty much blended everything else out, so we just need to make sure that we get underneath the eye. For a flawless application. Eyelid, and kind of put a little bit of this product on the lid because I'm not putting on any shadow. Now what we want to do is go around the outer part of the concealer and make sure that the edges are blended out so that you don't have any, what we like to call in the beauty industry, lines of demarcation. And what that means is you can clearly see, as you see right here, you can see at the edges where the concealer stops. You can tell I got concealer right here, whereas on this side you can't tell where the concealer starts or where the concealer stops because it's blended into the skin. And that's what makes the base so flawless, is when it literally looks like it's your skin. That's the whole illusion of it all. What I want to do is I want to go in and I want to set the concealer, but I don't want to bake it because I don't want the powder to go crazy on the face, because I still have to contour and I don't want the liquid blending in with the powder. It may not work out right, okay? So I'm going to use this brush here so that I can have better control over the powder and where I'm applying it. And the powder that I'm using is going to be actually two powders. I'm using the Mud Zero powder and I'm using the Sasha Buttercup powder, and I blended those two together to kind of give me the perfect facial powder for my skin tone. Want to make sure I look up again, just because we have to make sure that the concealer underneath the eye is set. You can tell if your face is set because it gives off a more matte finish, like on this side, versus this side looks oily. I'm going to pretty much set everywhere that I put concealer. I am going to use a liquid contour. The liquid contour is going to be Black Opal. This is beautifully bronzed. Now remember, I told you before that when you're contouring your face, you want to start at the high point of your face, and you can see my edges are right here, but this is still kind of like the high point of my face right here. Now when I was taught to come right here from your ear and directly down, but that doesn't give you a accurate contour of the face. It just doesn't, because from right here to right here, that's actually not your, well, it's not my contour. It may be yours, but that's not my contour area. Mine is actually right here, and then it comes right here, because this is my cheek. So wherever your cheek is, wherever your cheekbone is, you bring your contour directly underneath that, okay? At the end of the contour, and I'm gonna start to kind of like push it out. And we don't want to go all the way to the mouth. That's why we didn't use a whole lot of product. We're just trying to contour this area right here, but you just want to make sure that you kind of like blend it. How can I put this? You want to make sure that you're kind of like pushing it outward towards the mouth instead of going up or down. Okay, so you just kind of want to blend it out just in this area here. Blend out the forehead. Now the forehead isn't hard at all. It's fairly easy. The only thing that you want to make sure you're doing is pushing that contour into your hairline. Now that we applied the contour onto the face, we need to go back in and we need to apply a powder. So I used Beautifully Bronzed from Black Opal. That was the liquid contour that I used to contour my face. Well, because I used the liquid, I have to go behind that liquid with the powder. If you do not set your liquid products with powder products, your liquid products will become oily. They will also crease as well. So to prevent oiliness from the face, especially if you have oily skin, you do want to make sure that you are putting a good coat of powder onto your face so that your face won't become oily or produce excess oil, and then your skin will break out. I'm going to use two bronzers. The two bronzers I am using is this MAC bronzing powder. This is in Refined Golden. And I'm using this Fenty Beauty Caramel Cutie bronzer as well. These are both powder bronzers, but the MAC bronzer has a little shimmer in it, and I always loved that about this Refined Gold, is because it has a little kind of like shimmer in it, but that's like MAC's thing. Like MAC is just like a glammy glam brand. All right, so I'm gonna take this powder brush, and I'm just going to press that powder exactly where I put the contour. Now you pressing the powder or pressing products on your face, it does kind of give a different application than swiping the products on your face. What I'm going to do is actually go in with the Beauty Blender and go behind the contour and make sure that it is blended in. Fluffy brush, and I'm going to take this Caramel Cutie bronzer, and I'm going to contour my nose. I'm going to start right here at the end, and I'm going to just flutter up the side of my nose. If you have a larger nose, it's okay. You just need to kind of like map out where you want to put your contour, because it's, like I say, going to create the illusion of whatever size nose that you would like. So I want to contour my nose from right here, and I'm going to go all the way up to the end of the brow. So right here, and then up to the brow. The next thing I'm going to do is go in with a powder blush on top of the liquid blush that I used. Blushes, this one here and this one here is pretty much the two that I always use. Sometimes I can mix it with this a little bit, but these are pretty much the ones that I use. Of that face and kind of like flutter with the brush. So we're not actually swiping, we're kind of like patting, kind of like just pat and swipe a little bit, you know, pat and flutter, pat, flutter. That's kind of what we're doing. The next thing I'm gonna do is take that Maybelline Fit Me. This is in the shade 320. This is, what is this? This is their pressed powder. I like to put this underneath the eye just to kind of add some color to it, but also just give it a more flawless finish. And I'm using Morphe Continuous Spray. You do want to use some type of setting spray to set your face. This is going to help your makeup last throughout the day. Even though we put powder on the makeup, there is a possibility that we still can create some oiliness throughout the makeup process. So making sure that we're using good powders and also a setting spray will help keep this makeup lasting all day. I'm going to take this same bronzer Caramel Cutie and I'm going to take this Morphe 5, this M573 brush, my favorite Morphe brush. And I'm just going to add this right onto the eye. This is just going to give the eyelid some necessary color. You don't have to do this. I just like to do this. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope that you were able to learn something from this video. Don't forget to like this video. Also subscribe to my channel. If you needed to watch any of the videos that I linked in this video, feel free to go ahead and watch them. They are also helpful as well. Please continue practice being the best versions of yourself each and every day. Do not stop practicing being the best versions of yourself. Until next time, thank you guys so much for watching again. Bye.